Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are so pleased to have in the studio with us today Todd Smoogen. He is the HCM Consultant for Paylocity. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Nailed it.
Beautiful. I got Todd right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very, very good. How are you doing?
I'm great.
We're
Good morning.
good. Joined by my co-host, and she gets to be in that role as long as she can stomach me.
I love it.
So we're honored to do that. And it's Kristen Fogel. She's the Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Just a real cool place. 20th anniversary next year?
Yeah, absolutely. Can't believe it.
And all about authors, all about writing, all about, you name it, memoirs, and some of the top writers in our city work with her, and that means that they're top in the city. They're pretty much top everywhere in that area. So Kristen will be co-hosting with me, and she has a question for you right out of the gate.
Yeah, I just wanted you to talk to us a little bit about Paylocity's mission.
Yeah, I think our mission is pretty special here. Paylocity is really a company that separates itself from other payroll companies, and the fact that we really try to give back to the community we exist in. So I don't think it's by any accident that we call our payroll community payroll. I think it really speaks to where we really where we see ourselves in the industry. Lots of times you have conversations and they're just, how do we hire? How do we fire? How do we do everything in between? And a lot of it gets lost is, how do we keep our best people? How do we engage? How do we build a culture?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So with Paylocity, to your point, and what Chris was asking here, are you working with all types of businesses, all sizes of business, or mainly small ones?
Yeah, I think we got our start really in the mid-market. That's about the 200 to 2,500 space.
Really?
So it's really for the companies that still have a lot of feet on the ground. We like to say we like to stay closer to the street than Wall Street.
Right.
And I think it's the mid-sized companies, especially post-pandemic, that really needed our services.
Yeah, right. And why did they need your services more during the pandemic? Just because of all the confusion, people leaving, people coming, people not coming back, all of the above?
Yeah, I think it's really the DNA of how we're built. So we were a company that didn't have boots on the ground in buildings in every city. We've always been a work-from-home style company.
That's nice.
Yeah. Well, it was sold as a perk when I got the job, and then everybody got to work from home.
Right, exactly. Kristen?
Yeah. I think something that kind of just going back to the mission that strikes me as a nonprofit executive is it says that you offer an intuitive, easy-to-use system. So intuitive speaks to me so much. I won't name names, but we have so many systems that are not intuitive. So can you speak to maybe some of the features that have that built-in intuitive nature? Because I'm curious, I'm hungry, I want to know, can I use it?
Well, I think rule number one is a lot of organizations and companies spend a lot of time and money, with these HR products, and at the end of the day, their employees never use them. So that's, for one, not a good thing. So
Right.
I think part of that mission is, how do we get employees to use the product? And a lot of that is how the company is set up. So another thing that makes Paylocity special is we're built on a video platform. And as you know, in 2023, everybody's attention span is about 6 seconds.
Right.
No one's reading emails or PDFs or announcements. If they're not seeing something visual or eye-catching, it really gets distracted. So how do we use video to really enhance the culture of a company? And that's really where we start, is let's build your vision, let's put your mission, let's use video to really enhance who you are as an organization or company.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're in the Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch. Mission Fed, as many of our listeners know, have been doing great things for San Diegans for more than 60 years. We're joined by Todd Smoogen. He's the HCM consultant for Paylocity, joined by my very cool co-host, Kristen Fogel, the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Talk about, I think Kristen was sort of alluding to this a little bit. How do you close the nonprofit retention gap?
Yeah, that's a big struggle, right? So
in 6 words, really quickly, how do you do this?
You got 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah, the tough part and the statistics out there is nonprofits turnover is anywhere from 19 to 23%. Your for-profit company is anywhere from 9 to 13%. So right off the bat, you have a 10% gap, and how do you close that?
Right.
And you're already limited as a nonprofit. You have multiple people multitasking. You'll often see somebody HR, payroll, finance.
That's right.
Wearing all the hats, and at the same time, cost is always an issue, and then time and expertise. So, how do we really bridge that gap? Is I think the core of what we're trying to do here with nonprofits, especially in San Diego.
Right. So what you do is, will you go in and make an assessment and say, okay, we want to take one of the hats off of somebody because they got too many hats on? Does that happen that way?
And, a lot of that is automation, right? It's 2023.
Right.
A lot of things can be done on computers that we can never do just 5 years ago.
Right.
And it's how can we maybe remove some of those hats and have them be able to focus more on things like matter, getting the voice of the organization out, really working on those roles that matter to the growth of the nonprofit versus getting hampered down the weeds of HR and payroll.
Right, right. We talk about this quite a bit on the show, and Kristen knows this as well, running a nonprofit, and especially when you have people on from like USD's School of Leadership and Sciences and the Nonprofit Institute and the foundation that do a lot of research in it. Nonprofits contribute a lot of revenue into this community, do they not?
Sure do, especially in San Diego.
Exactly, and it's so funny how people don't think that's the case. You're a nonprofit, you must not be contributing. Well, you're absolutely out of your mind because they contribute tons of
millions and millions of dollars. I went to one of those, USD seminars, and I was just blown away by the charts and just how ginormous the nonprofit sector is here.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, and it really builds up a lot of the economy. Kristen, you got another question for Todd?
I always have a question.
Yeah.
I wondered if you could speak to this market pay and rewards program.
Yeah, so this is a new rollout we had this fiscal. So we know, all companies are always trying to find the top talent, and underpaying, overpaying, losing on the best candidates. How can you be most prepared when you're speaking to somebody of talent that you want to bring on? And that means even more for the nonprofit, where every dollar you can't just throw away. So
Right.
market pay is a product where we can pick your industry. So let's say nonprofits, and the type of nonprofit, maybe it's technology, social outreach, whatever it may be. And we can go out there and be able to tell you, based on a lot of data points, exactly what you should be hiring somebody at for this job set. What is a benefit package that would be something that would keep them here, right? Retention being that ultimate driver. And market pay gives you those outside analytics, and you can be able to see how you're hiring people. And then hopefully over time, you can see that those good decisions are leading to better retention and the best employees.
One of the things that was interesting when I was working for the San Diego Union Tribune, which I worked for many, many, many years, had a boss that, he really got it. And, when we're talking about retention, and, listen, there's always some folks talking about, well, I need to be paid more. And I love his philosophy on that. He goes, oh, okay. So you've done the market research for somebody in that position, right? And that, what are you talking about? Well, if you say you need to be paid more, you must know that other folks are offering more money. And I like what he wasn't trying to make the person feel bad, but it was a good statement. His philosophy was he was, for those key employees, he was always going to pay more than out there in the market. And that if you were going to leave, you were going to leave because it's a culture thing. You weren't going to leave because it was pay, because you're not going to find as much pay on that. What do you think about that philosophy? It worked, by the way.
It works well in the for-profit.
Yeah.
Nonprofit's always tougher, though. Again, you don't just happen to have a big bucket of money you can pull from just to give people raises.
Right.
And I think it's also a mindset, when you have a nonprofit, you have to know that your employees eventually probably going to leave. But you really have to kind of focus on why they're there in the first place. A lot of times they're coming for the mission.
Yep.
It's not always about the money, but hey, we have families. We need some medical insurance. We'd like to put some money away for retirement. But a lot of it also is development. A lot of people go so they can really learn about how to develop themselves as a manager, supervisor, how to work with multiple groups. You're doing that all day in a nonprofit. Very often you're not just sitting at a desk. So I think that's where kind of the market pay and some of our goals that we want to give for nonprofits.
You know, I have kind of like an offshoot question of that. So you have market pay, you have, you know, all sorts of different functions that was on your website. If I, you know, came to you, can I pick and choose some of these things, or are they all just lumped in, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's right off a menu. So
okay. A la carte,
obviously,
if you will. Yeah.
we have the word pay in our name, Paylocity, right? So we got to take care of your payroll.
Right.
Everybody wants to get paid at the end of the day.
But there's so many other cool features. I just wondered, you know, can you cherry pick them?
Yeah, we have an HR suite. So really, you have an employee of record and then go from there. If you want to do trainings, you want to do performance evaluations, surveys, market pay, compensation planning, all these things you can do. Not every company needs them all, so we're not going to just kind of shove everything down.
Yeah.
We'll let you pick and choose.
That's great.
Yeah, and for all sizes of companies, correct?
Yep, all size companies. You know, nonprofits range anywhere from just one sole prop all the way up to thousands of employees.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're chatting with Todd Smoogen. He is the HCM Consultant for Paylocity. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things in San Diego for more than 60 years, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is the Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Kristen?
True story. Can you talk a little bit about your organization's community outreach efforts, since I know that's, you know, kind of integral to your mission?
Yeah, I think Paylocity just really has a great, you know, not to sound too much like a Gen Zer, but a great vibe. And that's kind of rare for a payroll HR company. But we have a division called Paylocity Gives. And it's just a division of our company where we know that if we're not giving back to the communities that we serve, then I think it sounds like we're not really being authentic. So we really try to let the community know through philanthropy efforts across the country, in-kind donations. We give grants. We support nonprofits nominated by our employees. That's pretty awesome. We give paid time off just in our system that you can be able to choose for employees. Even inside of our payroll, you can, as an employee, put in a deduction to take money right out of your bank account and give it to your favorite donation or charity, which I think is pretty special.
Yeah.
We support a bunch of schools across the country as well with STEM. So everywhere that we exist, we try to be integral in the community.
Good. I'm glad you brought up about STEM. You'll be getting a call from me with one of my favorite organizations, Classroom of the Future Foundation. It's been around for 25 years, and that's what we focus on. We focus on working with underrepresented kids, especially in the STEM area. Many of them have never gone to college, the families on it. So expect a phone call from Drew Schlosberg.
Whether you like it or not.
I don't know a Drew Schlosberg. Oh, really? It sounds like the guy just had an interview with on this. We come back from a break. Todd, I know we have some more questions about you on what makes you really proud of the organization, certainly the community outreach. I know Kristen wants to talk to you a little bit of some of the challenges that you folks have in this area, and we always leave some time. What can our listeners do to support your efforts? How's that sound?
Sounds great. Looking forward to it.
We'll be right back with Todd Smoogen. He's the HCM Consultant for Paylocity. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, joined by my phenomenal co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of... You told me I had to say that.
I did pay you to say that.
Break.
It's true.
Right, exactly. From San Diego Writers, Inc. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream, and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're on our 17th year, broadcasting here from the Mission Fed studio in Scripps Ranch, Mission Federal Credit Union, just raising the bar for many folks in San Diego County for 60 years and counting. Joined by my very cool co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is Executive Director of the San Diego Writers, Inc., and what makes you most proud of this organization? Obviously, giving back is important to you. You got a young family, and I think it's a great role model. I'm sure they see you giving back, volunteering, and all that. But what else makes you real proud of working for Paylocity?
It's really what's made me proud is every time I reach out to leadership for any initiatives, especially when it comes to nonprofits, it's open arms. So they say, this is where we want to be. It's one of our largest industries. What can we do to kind of maintain that image with the community? So when I came to them to, start getting people on the spotlight in the community show, Live Local, Give Local, being part of SD Gives.
Right.
What would that look like? How can we be a part of it? And at the same time, being cognizant that if we're going to partner with these companies, we have to be able to give them a package that's affordable, that does the trick, and, helps relieve a lot of those, admin and technological burdens.
Yeah, with that question, Kristen?
Yeah, speaking of your leadership, though, really quickly, I saw that y'all had gotten this Forbes Best Employers for Women, and I looked at your top leadership as like 50% women, which I was super impressed by. So that's amazing.
Yeah. There's a lot of talented women. I have a talented boss, and our divisional she's amazing history in the HCM world. Top to bottom, I think has a lot of diversity, which really speaks to the strengths of the company.
That's awesome. That's something to be proud of. I also wanted to just ask, what are some of the most significant challenges for those that you serve?
Yeah, we kind of spoke to a little bit. You have a lot of people that, for one, just are overwhelmed in this role of HR, payroll. You have compliance issues, tax issues, retention, HR, just day to day. So how can we really kind of provide them a payroll company or a payroll solution that does more for them, right, than just checks the boxes?
Mm-hmm.
So with HR, and we know certainly there's, someone's got to be ready to respond to any type of thing that's going on in this era we're in, and rightfully so. When people misbehave, they should be brought to task on that. There's no question about that. And we all know that, listen, now it's, those things are rising, quite a bit. Is that something you folks do? Do you give seminars to those companies and say, here's some things you need to do when it comes to, sexual harassment prevention training or whatever? Do you get involved in that stuff?
Yeah, we sure do. So we have our own HR support division, but we also partner with a lot of HCM consultants and HR consultants here in San Diego that really provide those backbone services. And then we hopefully give a technology that can do that. So everybody knows there's certain trainings that everyone has to do, sexual harassment training, safety training.
That's right.
And, the goal is, it's one thing to buy them and implement them and say, hey, employees, go take these trainings, but how do we make sure they actually do them?
Right.
And a lot of that is, hey, everybody has a phone. Remember the time when everyone just didn't have a phone all the time? Wasn't a guarantee as a laptop. So how can we do everything on a phone? How can we get it done in the first week of employment, check the box, and then move on to things that matter more?
Right. And I think I was very fortunate that we had, if I can brag about them, an unbelievable HR division at the San Diego Union Tribune. They were on top of their game, always communicating with the employees, always had an open ear, always listening to both sides if there was an issue or a conflict, and never rushing to judge until they did that. Now, that sounds so obvious. That's what you should be doing. But you hear so many cases where people are not doing that. Todd, when you work with companies or that HR division does, they run into people that, boy, you really don't know how to run HR.
It might be true, especially when you're cost constrained and you're wearing a lot of hats, you're probably not a specialist in any one thing.
Yeah.
And that's hopefully where we can come in and give you the best advice and tools to be able to do that.
Right.
You kind of hit on something. Communication is number one.
Yeah.
It can't be really middle out. It really has to be a message from the top, talking about why you're here, what we're about, the things that we care about, the best type of employee we want. And I think that's part of something special that we have is having this communication and engagement piece to our technology.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because of the world I've been in has been communication, former journalist, and worked for running community and public relations for the Union Tribune. And you're spot on. And I think I really give credit to our president and CEO. They came in about a month after me, just ironically, in 92. I'm sort of dating myself and how old I am, for God's sake. But, he changed the whole culture. It was a culture, ironically, of a communication company, the Union Tribune, or a communication distribution company, basically, that didn't do a lot of great internal communications. And, you tend to forget that. I mean, you got your internal customers, and that just is critical, whether you're a small nonprofit or whether you're a big company like the Union Tribune. I got to tell you something. He changed the culture for the positive. We did internal surveys and all that business. And, you're spot on. It comes from that leader. If you don't think it comes from the leader, then, you don't work for the right company. Mm-hmm. And he's got to walk that talk, or she's got to walk that talk. Talk how important that is.
I think it's everything.
Correct.
It doesn't matter, profit, nonprofit. It really starts at the top, but it also has to be easy. So if an employee can't easily hear your message and really understand the culture and go to one place without having 6 applications on how to hear from feedback from leadership, then you're really just wasting your time. So I'm sure the CEO figured out a way to make it really simple to be able to build that culture and communicate to those employees.
Well, not only did he do that, and because it just ties beautifully into what you do, he'd keep on top of it. And he would meet with the employees, and he would do upward reviews. And so he would sit there, hey, how's it going? Is your director, your manager doing these things? And he wasn't out there to sit there and not trust the folks like us who were at senior levels, but he was just going to ask. And he loved honest feedback. And it was good for the manager if they get, hey, listen, you know what? You're doing great in this area, but boy, you're not, here's an area you can improve on. It was always about continuous improvement. That's what I love in that situation. It wasn't like, how do we put a thumb on you? It's how do we get better in all this? I mean, listen, Kristen, you're in the communication business, to say the least, with writing and so forth. Talk about how important that is, when you work with your clients and with the folks in your world.
I mean, just like we've been talking about, communication is key. I communicate with my students an awful lot, with my instructors, with community partners. And I'm on a local PTO board, and I'm seeing how communication has led them to suffer over the years, and how
that's right.
Just the rebranding in the few short weeks that school has been going on, that the perception has just turned the vibe around. So yeah, it's everything, as we've been talking about.
Yeah, it really is. Have you always been a good communicator? Or you like to think you are?
Depends on who you're asking.
Yeah, I'm asking your bride. We're gonna get her on next time.
No, I like to think that that's something Paylocity can do. So in our industry, there's a lot of products you can purchase,
right?
And oftentimes in a sales process, when we're engaging in a discovery, we have a bad habit of feature dumping. We have 18 different things you can use them all. But Paylocity is really able to tie those things back to the retention. And how we're talking about communication, just communicating with somebody a lot of times, if they're feeling like they don't want to be here anymore, or they're feeling anxious about their job, just having a good communication, understanding where leadership wants to take something, can really kind of pull somebody back in the fold. It's not an overcomplicated thing.
It's not.
And oftentimes we just aren't really pushing into that like engagement and communication. That's really where Paylocity community payroll is different and special.
Yeah. Well, there's no question about it. And I think once you peel the onion in this aspect, and you see those companies, it's quite obvious that are not getting the most favorable responses for their employees are ones that don't communicate, or they hold back information, because communication is power. And if you want to control the power, you don't communicate it. It's a horrible way of doing it. You'll be out of business if you do that. And the other ones are, we're going to share everything we can, obviously, with that, except for breaking any HIPAA or privacy laws, on that. Kristen, got a question for him regarding our Spotlight folks?
Yeah, just wanted to see how our Spotlight and the community folks can support your efforts, or learn more, or
help you personally? I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's got a full 360, right? So an organization cares about its employees and retention. At the same time, it has a voice and a message and wants to get out to the community it serves and the donors that they want to serve as well. So how can we do both? And Paylocity has the ability to really kind of amplify that message. And then so when I'm talking to organizations, this is what I want to do. Yes, we have to do your payroll. We have to onboard employees. But we're here for much more than that. We want to help you really reach your goals. So SD Gives is a great partner. Obviously, they sponsor nonprofits really with that big day of giving, day of volunteering. And, a lot of that is pushing that to the employees. And we can use that in community. We have a whole announcement piece to it, using that video component to really kind of drive that message, really celebrate what you're doing. Obviously, the Spotlight show, you're walking away with great conversations.
Right.
Why shouldn't those employees hear about that conversation? How are we going to get that to them?
Yeah, you're spot on. Make a promise for us if you could. You work with a lot of nonprofits, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Next time you're on, which I hope is sooner than later, bring in a couple of those nonprofits that sit right next to you and talk about this is what they've done. And it'd be nice if you brought in someone you've helped with the HR aspect, and maybe this one you've helped with the communication aspect, maybe two different things, because it just focuses on the great street cred that you're bringing to this. And I think Kristen would agree with me. The stuff you're doing is so valuable, to say the least, because you are giving these tools to these companies that may or may not know that they don't have them and all that aspect of it. And when you are opening a door and communicating with the employees, there is nothing better, and it changes people's lives professionally and personally. So congratulations to what you guys are doing.
Well, hey, it's the nonprofits we serve. They're the ones that need the celebrating. Anything we can do to help them, we're here for them.
Very, very good. Todd Smoogen, what a pleasure. Good seeing you again, my friend. HCM Consultant for Paylocity. We're going to look forward to having you back on with some of the clients you work with, nonprofits as well down the road. Kristen Fogel, another fine job of co-hosting. And I just love the fact that you're going to be taking over from my position for the next 5 years.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, in that aspect. Again, you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 17th year in these beautiful Mission Fed studios in Scripps Ranch, and Mission Fed continuing to do great things in our community for more than 60 years. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.